All right, guys, today I'm up in Albuquerque. I had an unexpected road trip that I have to come up here. Some family things I needed to take care of. So what that means is that I don't have any other pre-planned projects. I've had this project I've been working on. Town cars have really heavy drive shafts. I think they're like almost 50 pounds. They make lighter drive shafts. The cop car, or the Panther, what they call the PI, has an aluminum drive shaft that only weighs like 17 pounds. Well, I don't have the exact measurement, but the lighter weight takes less energy to accelerate, so it makes you go faster, gives you, and I'm thinking to give me better not horsepower, but gas mileage. So what am I doing today? I got the drive shaft out of the town car. You can also see the stiffer suspension up in here. I got the aluminum links, Mateco or whatever. But yeah, this is all real stiff back here. But I don't have a drive shaft in right now. I'm doing some research. And this is what I did. About 5-6 years ago, I got a wild hair at my butt. I have a friend that has a bunch of cop cars. And he had one that was totally wrecked, so I got one of these. What this is this is the stock drive shaft out of the town car. And today's just research. I'm just measuring it out. So this is the aluminum drive shaft. That's the steel one. The problem we have is the aluminum drive shaft is 55.5 inches or 55.5 inches long. And the stock one is 58 inches long. The snout, the slip yoke is 7 3/4 inches from the center here to here on this, and it's 8 inches from center to outport here. I measured it right here. You can see the mark. The splines on this start at 2 4/10 of an inch down. I used a micrometer to measure it. And then I also measured exactly where it sits when it's done. So this distance here is 3 inches in there. Okay? But I have it written down. Let's take a look. Let's see. So yeah, the stock drive shaft's 58.5. The town car one is 55.5. That's 3 inches difference, even in the length of the. So that 3 inches pretty much you'd have like maybe two and like almost no. There's no spline engagement. So I did some reading on it. 3 inches is optimal of a spline engagement when it goes in, but you can get away with about 2. I have it written down exactly. About 2 inches. So if I measure this right, I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to take this off of here, put it on there, because that'll give me an extra inch. That'll give me an extra 1/4 inch, which will give me over this one an extra 1/4 inch of stuff to work with. That leaves 2 inches of play inside here. So what I have to do is come back here and get a drive shaft spacer. I think Fabtex makes them. Put a spacer on this, so that way I have a 1 inch spacer. So I'm only technically that would make it like 56.5 inches long. If I can find a longer one, like 1.5 inches drive shaft spacer, that'd probably be more optimum, because then that's another 1.5 inches not to overcome. And all in all, you read it all out, it's doable. The reason I think it's doable is because when I put the car up in the air, when it's sitting flat on the ground, I measured this. I put a mark on the drive shaft right here. On the drive shaft right here. This is where it sits. That's where it sits, right there. Okay, let's go. Right here, that's where it sits. But when you put it up in the air, the droop of the rear axle only drooped 4 inches. But when it drooped, it didn't pull any of the shaft out. So and it had about, I measured, it has a 2-degree angle on there. So that way I can, you have the engagement lubricates the needle bearings inside the caps of the Marcel joints. So, whereas now I have 3 inches of spline engagement, when it's all in there, I'll have 2 inches. It's right on the, or 2.5 inches if I can find an 1.5 inch spacer. If it's not too expensive, I'll go ahead and do that. I might just think there's another Lincoln, forget what it is, that has the same length drive shaft, and it's 50, and it's aluminum. The reason I want the aluminum is it doesn't take as much energy to spin it up, which then means that you'll get a more out of the hole punch. But this is not a drag race car. What I'm trying to do is improve fuel economy. I hope this all makes sense. But while we're down here, the other thing I've done that's pretty cool, let me show you here. Set this right here. All right. The other thing that's pretty cool, here, let's get this to follow me. The other thing that I've done that's pretty cool is I put this under tray underneath the town car. I just went down to Lowe's and picked up a piece of plastic and put it under here. I cut it all away. There's some roads here in New Mexico where there's no traffic. I used to get up to about 100 and, about 110, 105 miles an hour, and the car would be floaty, would really float. I read this book called Aerodynamics of Vehicles, and I decided to put this under tray under here. And normally there's a fin that sticks down here because this is the radiator, and it pushes air up and in here. What this under tray does is it smooths the air under the front, making a low pressure zone, which makes the car, pulls the front of the car down when you're really getting after it. But because it still has this opening here, this forces the air still into the radiator. Car hasn't run overheated at all. But so that's what we got going on. This is just a research project. And as a matter of fact, I'll show you. I'm going to just put this back in. So this is just a research project. I'm not actually going to drive home with this, with that aluminum drive shaft. I want to make sure that I've got all my, everything all figured out first before I get it really going crazy. But I have just thought for years that, it would be a cool, easy project. The problem I have is, I have to think it all out a whole bunch before I commit to it. And originally, when I did the sway bars, because this has the ADTR sway bar kit on it, it has all the ADTR rear things, but it still has the stock air springs on it. And I just want the car to handle better. Originally, the aluminum drive shaft idea was because it's stiffer than believe it or not, it's stiffer than the steel one. And I wanted to make the input of the axle, keep it from twisting back and forth, if you can see that. So I want that axle to not move back and forth, and the drive shaft keeps from having drive shaft deflection because the aluminum is stiffer. The other thing it is lighter. You take 20, 30 pounds out of your drive shaft, it's less spinning mass. Less spinning mass means less horsepower consumed to spin it. So it goes back to that whole idea of, I'm not creating more horsepower, I'm freeing up horsepower. Yeah, so not creating horsepower, just freeing it up. So, but I tend to kind of overthink stuff. The cool thing is now, when I was building Jeeps 20 years ago, it took years. It took me a long time to figure all this stuff out. A lot of people have done this. I just want to make sure it's safe, because not only is this a toy, but it does hold my family, and I don't want to go crazy with it. Let's get this tightened down. So if I can get the drive shaft spacer pretty easy, that's what we're going to do. I kind of had an ADD moment there with the with that, but with this under tray. I recommend it highly. If you have a town car or even a Panther and you can get this under tray put in, I think it cost me like $10 for the plastic. And I still have, and it was like, this is only half the sheet of plastic. So a side note is, if you can get yourself a sheet of plastic, fantastic, knock it out. But that's what I'm working on, this drive shaft. And this is just a mind thing, just something we're just working on. I just want to put this lighter drive shaft in. But as I've gotten older, I do a lot of research because I want it to work, and I want it to work right the first time. Because guessing and then breaking down the side of the road, considering it's 180 miles between here and home, you don't really want to have any problems. So that's the video for today. If you could do me a favor and look in the description, if you got this far, we have a Patreon. I'm trying to make this a go, and if you guys would subscribe to the Patreon down there in the link, I would really appreciate it. So that way I can stay home with my wife and daughter. My two wives and daughter, my youngest daughter. So, and then that'll allow me to continue doing the projects. So anyways, that's what we got going on. Link in the description. If you like this, like and subscribe. Thank you.